One little thing I want to show here, last year there was a controller that came out, and it was supposed to be kind of a, I don't know, like a game-changing event as far as motion control and whatnot for desktops, laptops, and whatnot. It was called Leap Motion. It was released. It was a Kickstarter campaign. I think it was a Kickstarter campaign, but it was released as like $80, and it was supposed to be, well, here, let me show it to you real quick. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, there it is right there. Oh, look at that. Nice J.J. Abrams lens flare. But what it is really is just like it's like a mini Kinect, only the sensors and whatnot are far more powerful than Kinect could ever get or achieve, at least on the first generation Kinect. So let me place that back up there. And as of current, I know that they have started implementing this into HP keyboards and laptops directly, so you don't have to have this little external device. But what it was intended to do was exactly like the Kinect, was for hand and motion controls and skeletal detection and whatnot, but it was much more precise. It could detect quite a bit better. When it released, it did okay, but it had its first release bugs and whatnot. They have long since patched and updated it. There's a new beta out, V2, that gives it actually phenomenal skeletal tracking and whatnot for 3D space. Now, this was probably going to be one of the things that everybody had looked to, saying, "Ah, well, this will be, how we do hand control and whatnot in VR." Of course, you still lack physical buttons where you need to click stuff and whatnot, and it still had a ways to go. So I think in that area that you're still going to need VR gloves like Control VR, whatnot for that. I don't think the Kinect or the Leap Motion will be what's going to replace that in at least VR gaming. But I'll show you a couple early demos real quick, and then I'll show you the V2 update for the Leap Motion. I don't think I ever gave this thing a really good review. So let me go ahead and get it started. And the first one that we have here is just the original orientation demo, and I'll fire that up. And this one doesn't give you a very good example of skeletal tracking, just because it wasn't there yet. They were still trying to work with the technology, especially the firmware and software with it. Now I know that's not very impressive yet, but you'll see as this kind of progresses. You're saying, well, this is, so you're waving your hands around and you're seeing a bunch of little particle explosions. This was the early skeletal detection. You can see it doesn't work that well. That's how it was when it initially shipped. I'm not quite sure that's how I would draw, but okay. So that was the original launch demo. Then you had all these developers. There's one that lets you control your windows just by motion and whatnot. There was one for Google Earth where you could control and spin. That actually worked pretty well. But let me try to find one here. Cut the Rope, I believe, worked phenomenally well. Outside the right there. It's very sensitive to external light and stuff. So as you can see, it can be used for gestures like that and whatnot. But I think with VR it was more, well, I'm not exactly sure how to cut, but there we go. Anyway, I'll move on to a little better demo. I know how cut the rope works on a tablet or a smartphone. I wasn't really following along with it there. This is Little Adventure. Light? I'm sorry, this is actually one of the guys on my Facebook that you probably see commenting here quite a bit, Gerald Tervin? I don't want to butcher your last name, Gerald. I'm sorry, Jared. But he's from Germany. This is actually his game. He's a developer, and he's working with the Rift, and he was doing some work with the Leap Motion. I'm not sure he really does that much anymore, but this is his. But you can see where I'm picking up this and going through the 3D space with it. So I can move my hand in and out. So it does pretty good with the motion detection and whatnot here. It's kind of a game, so I've got to get it through the hole. It's been my trouble in life. So as you can see, it's me, kind of Obi-Waning, you know. So that's how that works. So we'll try another one here. Let's see here. Then I'll move on to some of the newer V2 skeletal animations since they've updated the beta and firmware. They actually have a game like this for the Rift where you use your head to look around. A couple of them actually. But you can see it's actually pretty good tracking for just simple stuff. Try another one here. See what we can do here. That was kind of weird. So basically what this does is it'll build like a dome. The actual Leap Motion control itself, it's got like a projection dome, and so it can detect your hands and fingers and digits, and you know, within that 3D space, and apply it to a game world. It's finicky. I think it's a lot of it probably has to do with how the game's developed. Let me try to start it like this. I think if the controls are just poorly implemented in a game, then it's not really the hardware, it's the developer at that point. Yeah. I'm not really impressed with that one. I don't think I've ever played that one before. Try one more, and I'll show some of the skeletal stuff. Well, you can see the fish kind of following my hand around. No, they really have improved the tracking since. It's actually detecting everything. So, I guess I can't full screen that, but there's both my hands. You can see where it's. But the point, what the thought was, you'd be able to use this like VR gloves, where you can, you know, grab and manipulate. Yeah, you could. It wouldn't work very well, just because based on the tracking and whatnot, and you would need to see it. You know, if you go too far over, you lose tracking. You go too far past it, you lose tracking. Too high, you lose tracking. With the headset on, that would mess it up. So VR gloves are going to be necessary. But I mean, this is just kind of how it works. What you can do is actually tape that to the DK1. You won't need to do it anymore with DK2, and use it as kind of like positional tracking. But I can't remember how this works. It's kind of like a control interface for Windows. So if it works still, it may not. No, I'm not even going to bother with it. But anyway, here we go. Here are some of the new V2 demos. Cube-Wave. So this shows you a lot more of the skeletal tracking. So you can see it's far improved. It's actually detecting all of my fingers and whatnot. So right down to the bend, and the grip, the best that it can, as long as I'm within there. Let's see, I think it's a lot to do with the ceiling light being hitting that directly and messing it up, but if I was in a dark room, it'd probably work flawlessly. But I mean, it works exceptionally well. This is something the original Kinect would never even come close to, is this close of skeletal tracking. Try another one here. Oh wait, okay, there is the Windows desktop thing. Of course I need to disable that. I'm not impressed with it. There we go. And this one, you can use two hands, but I can come down here and just pick that guy up. But it's an early, you know, it's a first run sort of thing. It will greatly improve. I mean, it's already improved just through software updates from what it originally was. But I mean, just kind of cool what they're doing with stuff nowadays. Of course, there are settings menu where you can tweak, you know, speed versus detection and all that other stuff, and accuracy. But no, I mean, it's pretty impressive at this point. For VR, you'll still need physical gloves, buttons, and stuff like that, unfortunately. Especially for firing and whatnot. But, I mean, this is just kind of showing the future of things to come, especially in touchscreen and stuff like that. You'll probably maybe start seeing these pop up on smartphones or tablets to where you don't even physically need to touch the screen anymore. Gesture control. I mean, you already have starting to see that on some of them. I don't know how well it works. I haven't tried it. But that's that.